We'll call this meeting to order. Representative Banta, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is David Rowe. I am the representative for the 85th Legislative District, including Union, Snyder, Juniata, and Mifflin counties. I also have the privilege of serving as the Republican Policy Committee Chairman. I want to begin by letting our members introduce themselves and where their districts are. We're going to start with Representative Zimmerman on the far side and work our way all the way across.
Yeah, Representative Dave Zimmerman, the 99th District, Northeast Lancaster County, and Southern Berks.
Representative Clint Owlett, 68th Legislative District, all of Tioga and half of Bradford.
Good morning, Tim Twardzik from the 123rd District in Schuylkill County.
Good morning, Tom Jones, 98th Legislative District, the northwest corner of Lancaster County and the southwest corner of Lebanon County.
Good morning, Jake Banta, 4th Legislative District, Erie County, Pennsylvania.
Valerie Gatos, 44th District, Allegheny County, southwestern portion.
Good morning, Kristen Marcel, 178th District from Bucks County.
Good morning, Representative Kathy Rapp, 65th District of Warren, Forest, and parts of Crawford.
Good morning, Roman Kozak, Beaver County.
Jim Struzzi, Indiana County.
Good morning, Dane Watro, portions of Luzerne and Schuylkill County.
Joe Diorsi, 47th District, Eastern York County.
Good morning, Barb Gleim, 199th District, northwestern portions of Cumberland County.
John Schlegel, 101st Legislative District in the heart of Lebanon County.
Russ Diamond, 102nd District, the best part of Lebanon County.
Thank you, members. We'll also have probably some members coming and going. It's a busy session morning, as we all know. We'll have some members probably jumping in online as well. I want to briefly run through why we're here today. We'll be respectful of everybody's time. We're here because it is unfortunately far too easy for government to be stuck in the past. From old systems and outdated procedures to something as simple as shifting paper applications to online forms, there are lots of opportunities for government to run more efficiently and effectively. We are very fortunate today to have a perfect example of government efficiency in action here with us today, Pennsylvania State Treasurer Stacey Garrity. She's the 78th Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. She is the state's top fiscal watchdog, ensuring that money is going exactly where it should be to who it should be, protecting public funds and ensuring the taxpayer dollars have oversight. She's been reducing fees and waste. She's been modernizing the Treasury, things as referenced earlier, simple things, moving applications online, making things work automatically, eliminating red tape, cutting through that labyrinth of bureaucracy that just slows government down and keeps us bogged down in the past. Under Treasurer Gary's leadership, the Treasury is cutting costs and expanding services, proving that you don't need to spend more to do more, an important point to keep in mind during these budget negotiations. The respect for the hardworking taxpayer and results-driven stewardship are exactly what Pennsylvanians deserve from their government. So thank you, Treasurer Garrity, for leading by example. Today we're going to have about a 3 to 5 to 8 minute presentation, depending. Director Armstrong and Treasurer Garrity will be presenting, and then we will open it up for questions from members. And we do have a hard stop at 10 a.m., so we are going to keep members' questions brief so we can make sure we have time to hear from the Treasurer. So Treasurer Garrity, Director Armstrong, whoever would like to begin.
Sure. So I'm going to open it up with some remarks. So first of all, good morning. It is so great to be with all the members of the House Republican Policy Committee. And thank you, Chairman Rowe, for the invitation to speak with you all this morning. I appreciate it. So I'm really excited. We are to share some great accomplishments with you from our 2025 to 2029 strategic plan. There are great highlights to share already and so much more that we're working on over the next 4 years, just to keep a forward-looking view to best serve Pennsylvanians more efficiently and effectively. So our strategic plan reflects honestly months and months of discussions and planning across every single bureau to best address core challenges facing state finance today, including inflationary pressures, aging infrastructure, shifting demographics, and the ever-present cybersecurity risks. So it's a plan of innovation and reform that we're all proud of. And Treasury's Policy Director, Tom Armstrong, who is to my left, he's with me, and he's going to share some of the nitty-gritty details in just a couple minutes. But what I want to do is highlight three specific parts of the plan, and that's three of our goals. So Goal 1, fiscal watchdog. Goal 4, waste and fee reduction, and Goal 8, modernization. So I'll start with Goal 1. So as state treasurer, my top priority is to be the fiscal watchdog, and that means exercising due diligence in every single investment decision we make, implementing a really rigorous pre-audit process, and investigating anomalies. And then most importantly is remembering that every single dollar we manage is a dollar that belongs to the taxpayers of Pennsylvania, not to the government. So as treasurer, I am legally required to act with prudent person authority when it comes to state investments. And thanks to the great work of the General Assembly, the prudent person authority of Treasury has been extended for 10 years. So thank you all for that. I appreciate it. And what this standard requires is that we manage funds with the same care, precision, and caution that any sensible individual would use in managing their own finances. So we are not speculators, we are not gamblers, we are stewards. And that mindset guides every single thing we do at Treasury. So one of the big improvements we've seen is our rainy day fund. So when I took office in 2021, we had enough money in the rainy day fund to keep us afloat for less than 48 hours. That's not a lot. So now we have more than $7.3 billion in reserves, so our state could operate for just over 53 days, which is about right exactly where we need to be, about 15%. Included strong deposits in 2021 of $2.6 billion, 2022 of $2.1 billion, 2023 $900 million, and 2024 $737 million. So starting to go down. So to make this money work harder for Pennsylvanians, we implemented a new investment strategy, and that was in October of 23. And so we changed the way we invested the rainy day fund, because in the past we didn't have enough money to really do anything more than what we do in cash and cash equivalents. So because of the new investment strategy, in year one, we saw an increase of $50 million in interest earnings. So that's $50 million that we would have, more than what we would have seen if we wouldn't have implemented the new strategy. And you know what? It's not just a number on a balance sheet. The commitment to building our reserves triggers other benefits to the state's financial outlook. So ratings agencies like Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. So we got upgraded, and then a couple of the other rating agencies, they affirmed Pennsylvania's credit status. And you know why they did this? They cited our increased liquidity and the strong reserves. So the rainy day fund had a huge impact on improving our credit. So the future, however, of the rainy day fund is in jeopardy if you look at the governor's budget plans. So if you look at the IFO's projections, if we follow Governor Shapiro's plan, the historic balance of the rainy day fund will be gone in 26-27. So gone in 2 years. So we are also on the front lines of fraud protection. Government and finance industries, they're 2 of the top 5 target industries for cybersecurity attacks. So Treasury is always in the crosshairs. So since 2021, Treasury, working with L&I, we've recovered about $2 billion in fraudulent unemployment claims. And a lot of this is due to, our continually refining our fraud detection capabilities using just advanced data analytics, cooperating with agencies, and adopting emerging technologies to try and stay always one step ahead of criminal actors. And so another great improvement at Treasury is an implementation, and I love this one, of the new tax appeals process at the Bureau of Finance and Revenue, which passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. So Pennsylvanians now have a 90-day deadline to submit appeals and a new independent settlement process available for certain cases. So with the previous 60-day deadlines, many cases were dismissed over a technicality rather than on their merits, and that was really a shame. So year over year, we've seen great results already. So since January, 10 appeals have been heard as a result of the longer appeals process. Appeals that otherwise would have been dismissed. So, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 10 taxpayers that wouldn't have had possibly a fair resolution. And you know what? In addition, there has been a 59% reduction in appeals year over year. So think about that, 59%, that's huge. And that is because of an extension also implemented at the Board of Appeals level at the Department of Revenue. So the potential for mediation at BF&R also seems, you won't be surprised about this, it's incentivizing more settlements at the Board of Appeals level, so that's at Department of Revenue, so they never reach BF&R. So that's great. So the system is working better than ever for Pennsylvanians, and you know what? It saves both taxpayers and state time and money. So goal 1, Treasury's role as a fiscal watchdog is multifaceted, and those are just a few items that are part of it. So moving on to goal 4, waste and fee reduction. In an era where every single taxpayer dollar, it must be stretched as far as possible, our obligation to operate with efficiency, eliminate redundancies, and minimize unnecessary expenditures has never been more important. So at Treasury, we scrutinize every single process that we have. We question every expense. We embrace innovation to deliver more for less. And we know that fiscal responsibility, it just doesn't mean balancing the books, right? It means actively seeking ways to reduce costs, increase output, and improve performance. So I'll give you a great example of that. So we renegotiated a contract with BlackRock. And you know what? That resulted in 25% reduction in asset management fees. So we also shifted from exchange-traded funds to, and mutual funds to SMA, separately managed accounts. And so we netted $1.6 million in savings without sacrificing any performance at all. So these are real documented financial outcomes, and they translate directly into more resources for programs that Pennsylvanians care about and they need and they rely on. So there's a few other examples. They seem small, but we saved more than $35,000 in renewal of our software maintenance contract, and that's the contract that supports SWIFT and our unemployment compensation systems. And then another IT software renewal where due diligence saved over $47,000, and we renegotiated a telephone contract, and that saved us more than $20,000. So beyond the overall strategies to cut waste and fees within Treasury, I've also worked tirelessly with our team to reduce fees for families who rely on consumer programs like the PA 529 and PA ABLE. So our PA 529 investment plan has been recognized as one of the top plans in the nation. We are one of 2 plans to have gold status 2 consecutive years in a row. And that is because of our due diligence and our reduction in fees. So we've also waived fees for the PA 529 Guaranteed Savings Plan, our GSPA, for 3 years in a row, and we've reduced fees multiple times in our PA ABLE Savings Plan. So in totality, reduction in these fees has saved over $17 million. And what does all this mean for the people of Pennsylvania? It means more money staying in their pockets, which strengthens their savings power. So goal 4, waste and fee reduction, it's not just a line in the strategic plan. I promise you, it is a call to action that we follow each and every day. It is a mandate for reform and a promise that at Treasury, we're always going to look inward before we look outward, okay? And we are never going to forget that every dollar we save is a dollar that we can invest in Pennsylvania's future. So last goal, and I'm trying to hurry up, sorry, Chairman, but we're just going to touch on Goal 8, modernization, and this goal reflects not just only our ever-changing times, but the evolving expectations of the people that we serve. And today, you know, in our fast-paced world, Pennsylvanians, they want the same level of speed, convenience, and transparency from government that they get in the private sector. And I think that expectation is fair, and I think meeting it is very long overdue. So outdated processes, legacy systems, slow response times, they don't just frustrate people, they limit what we can accomplish. And so our modernization strategy is about investing in technology, but it's also about investing in people, processes, and in the long-term infrastructure of our public service. So one of the key priorities has been to strengthen the technological backbone in Treasury. So on the public-facing side of Treasury, we're embracing digital tools to enhance the constituent experience. So one major milestone was the launch of Penny. Get that, Penny? Okay. So that's our AI-powered virtual assistant. So Penny handles routine inquiries about, you know, unclaimed property, PA 529, and other Treasury programs. And what it does is it frees up staff to do more complex things. Now, I get very frustrated when I can't talk to a person, so don't worry, you can still talk to a person. Yeah, that drives me crazy. So we're implementing AI tools at Treasury with due diligence. And I have to tell you this, Treasury is one of the first states in the entire nation to adopt a use of generative artificial intelligence policy. So, and I think we might have been the first agency in the state, but if not the first, the second. So what that does is make sure that we have strong rules and framework in place when we do use AI tools. So part of this policy is only using tested and approved AI tools. So for example, I banned DeepSeek platform from Treasury devices in February, and that was because they're linked to the CCP, Chinese Communist Party. And modernization also means improving how Treasury staff interacts internally. So we're investing in modern performance management systems, we're improving our onboarding processes, we're providing staff with training on emerging tools and technologies. So a modern Treasury is one that can adapt quickly to changing circumstances, whether it's a new regulatory requirement, a shift in economic conditions, or an urgent need to deploy resources in a crisis, okay? But above all, modernization isn't about the next great thing. It's a cultural shift. It's recognizing that good government must constantly evolve to meet people where they're at. And it requires leadership that's willing to ask the hard questions. Why do we do it this way? Is there a better way? Can we make this faster, simpler, more secure? So these questions are at the core of how we operate. Gone are the times of doing things just because that's the way it's always been done. So in short, Goal 8, it's not just about upgrading our computers or adopting new platforms. It's about delivering public services with quality, speed, and accountability that Pennsylvanians expect and they deserve. So it's about building an institution that's responsive, resilient, and ready, not just for today's challenges, but ready to embrace tomorrow's opportunities. So these 3 goals are more than mere priorities. They're just a small part of our strategic plan. So each goal is a pledge to uphold the trust placed in us by the people of Pennsylvania. And it's a pledge to safeguard public funds, eliminate inefficiencies, and embrace innovation. So with the right investments in our systems and our people, and a forward-looking policy, and collaborative partnership like all of you, the leaders of all of you, we can do good work to secure Pennsylvania's financial health, not just for the next budget cycle, but for decades to come, if we control our spending. So I look forward to working alongside all of you to fulfill this vision and to make our great state work even better for the 13 million Pennsylvanians who count on us. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you. Thank you for your time, your attention, and most of all, your partnership. Now, we're going to take questions, but I just want Tom to go quickly go through just the nitty-gritty of how we put together the plan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Treasurer. Thank you for having me here. My name is Tom Armstrong, Policy Director for Pennsylvania Treasury, as well as Mr. Nitty Gritty. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah, you're okay. Okay, sounds good. Essentially, Pennsylvania, as you know, is a fiduciary duty as a steward of public funds. What does that mean? We have about $170 billion worth of public funds that we do to make sure it's done properly, accurately, correctly, with a prudent person type of response. Treasury Guarantee Administration, as mentioned, is advancing the organization's competency to meet the needs of evolving public and private financial landscape. There are 8 goals within the strategic plan that Treasury Guarantee has outlined. As she mentioned, we're going to focus on 1, 4, and 8, but we'll talk a little about each of them relatively quickly. Next slide, please. As you know, a strategic plan is a roadmap, and it's a roadmap under Treasury Guarantee's leadership and detailing the vision, mission, and initiatives in terms of aiming to implement goals as well as the accomplishments that's already occurred. This is the first strategic plan in Pennsylvania history. When we did the initial research, we looked to see what other strategic plans exist within Pennsylvania Treasury. There were none. There were some individual departments and individual bureaus who had their own, but nothing overall. And so therefore, the first time that ever occurred. Essentially, what we're doing is we're trying to enhance accountability and performance tracking across various functions across Treasury. The strategic plan was completed in March of 2025, and it's the latest strategic plan. I looked at other treasuries. We're the latest one. Others have put them out all across the United States, but we're the latest one in terms of putting something out. So it's kind of interesting, too. We've viewed many other strategic plans. We've looked at North Carolina, Michigan, Maryland, looking for improvements that we could occur from them to use for us. For example, North Carolina's strategic plan is over 100 pages. 3/4 of, not 3/4, but about 1/3 of it was just press releases. That made no sense. So what we did is we took that out, and then we put, obviously, initiatives as well as accomplishments that occurred. Next slide, please. How did we get that in terms of the data? There were two things. We looked at a quarterly major project tracker, and essentially that is quarterly done at Treasury, and that provides bureau activities. They're documented and assessed. Then we had a strategic plan survey, which went out twice. And that survey provided greater detailed information in terms of initiatives and accomplishments of the strategic plan. That information was stratified: project name, project description, type of project, priority level, et cetera. And therefore, that information is all provided within the strategic plan itself. Essentially, through the workforce, and I have to thank everyone at Treasury, it was a collaborative approach. Everyone was involved. Everyone needed in terms of helping and providing a strategic plan. If you've ever done one of these are time-intensive, long-term, significant projects that we've managed to do it in a record time. Next slide, please. Here is a message from the Treasurer. It's essentially asking for staff engagement of Treasury to accomplish the initiatives that Treasurer Garrity would like to proceed moving forward within the 8 articulated goals. Next slide, please. Here are the goals. Goal 1, fiscal watchdog. Goal 2, openness and clarity. 3 and 4, rural outreach, waste and fee reduction. 5 and 6, unclaimed property, affordable savings. 7 and 8, leadership development and modernization. Essentially, these are the goals articulated by Treasurer Garrity in a lot of public documents over at least 4 years and moving on forward. And so we took them and put it within the strategic plan itself. What you have here in the strategic plan is you have a list of accomplishments, which everyone in the committee has, 435, and we're going to focus on the 3 goals, 1, 4, and 8. The strategic plan is 117 pages. The executive summary is 1 to 30 pages. The comprehensive listing is 31 to 117 pages. So it's quite a significant document. Next page, please. Here's a quick summary. The number of initiatives going forward for the next 4 years, 75 that has been identified. Number of accomplishments that have been reported is 465. Pretty significant over the time period of the first 4 years of Treasurer Garrity's administration. This impressive number shows that we are showcasing not only Treasury's achievements, but allows us to enhance operations and services in terms of moving forward. So we're looking at past successes to move for growth and improvement in financial management going forward. Next slide, please.
I think we can skip this because we already talked about the rainy day fund.
All right, we'll skip this. We talked about rainy day fund and how important that is, and you're aware of that. Let's go to next slide. The next slide is continuing with goal 1 in terms of looking at unclaimed from, looking at the Supreme Court ruling. Essentially, in February 2023, the Supreme Court ruled on uncashed money orders enabled recovery of large significant amounts, showcasing Treasury's proactive stance in terms of safeguarding taxpayer resources. The total amount collected by Pennsylvania included over $6.2 million remitted to Treasury by MoneyGram in April 2024. That covered periods 2023 to 2024, and an additional $14 million that approved within the settlement, covering dates all the way back to 2011. The next one, part of that is also, the next bullet point on that slide is we also recovered unemployment compensation fraud. This allowed us, either through U.S. Bank, through L&I review, to find out the cheap debit cards that were issued during the pandemic. Treasury simplified in terms of facilitate this process in terms of recovering the amounts, which you can see there on the slide. Next slide, please. Goal 2 was openness and clarity. The highlighted one is Ledger 5. Ledger 5, as you know, is the introduction of a new web page in terms of award-winning transparency site, and that regards it non-budgetary expenditures. The key here with Ledger 5 identifies non-appropriate expenditures, legally mandated, and necessary to maintain the public health, safety, and welfare for the Commonwealth, and so placed within itself. For example, in November 2021, Treasurer Garrity launched Ledger 5 on the webpage on Transparency Portal. We had fiscal 2023-24, $1.25 billion was processed through Ledger 5, and 2023 to 2022, 2023, $2.7 billion. And so therefore, you get to see those funds that occur. The key is that Treasury is trying to show trying to indicate to the public, to get the public trust, what are expenditures that exist, that is occurring through. The next one is rural outreach. This is pretty significant in terms of goal number 3. What we do is in Treasury, we took to ensure that every corner of the Commonwealth can benefit from the Treasury programs. So we consolidated the approach for of all the programs that exist within Treasury, and then designing it to maximize impact and efficiency across the state. What does that mean? That means we participated in over 1,000 outreach and development activities and events. This meets business owners. We meet business owners and community groups. We provide educational programs, webinars to counties, county fairs, and statewide conferences. Next slide, please. Treasurer Garrity had mentioned waste and fee reduction. I'll just mention the 3 here. We implemented ACH payments. These are a strong tool to prevent and detect fraud and consider the best practices among bank operational costs. We also have AVA's tool is linked to or validated by bank accounts for vendors, payers to receive electronic payments. Penny was mentioned already in terms of our chatbot, and continuing the Lean initiative, which is the last one on that bullet point. This resulted in a 30% reduction in return mail. That is a huge cost savings in terms of less mail, less going out, less coming back, less resources needed. And so we increased our deliverable rates by 62% and reduced waste postage by 74.2%. Essentially, what we did is we took addresses and we take those address lists and we looked at a variety of filters and to make sure that those addresses are corrected and deliverable in an accurate manner. Continuing, next slide, please. Goal 5, unclaimed property. That's
We'll probably talk about money match later. So
okay, no problem. Goal number 6, affordable savings.
we already talked about that.
We did that too, so we'll continue on. Goal number 7, leadership development. This essentially maintains and creates skills and processes for professional leaders for the future of Treasury in the Commonwealth. In 2022, Treasurer Garrity introduced a comprehensive leadership development program. Essentially what it does, it provides refresher experiences, mentor programming to ensure essential skills for all employees in Treasury and implementing processes for the future of Treasury, but also the Commonwealth. Goal number 8 was already mentioned, was modernization. And essentially, overall modernizations provide simplifying processes to maintain financial systems and to provide efficient and effective services throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And going on to the next slide. Modernization. As part of modernization, we had 8 simplification initiatives that were created and were completed in 2021. We did not stop there. In those 8 simplification initiatives, we saved over 2.6 million savings annually. So if you think about that, that accumulates time period again and again. Currently, in 2013, we've now completed 14 simplification initiatives. So we're continuing to move on these initiatives as we go forward. And next slide, finally. Treasury remains committed to improving performance and delivering exceptional services. So by embracing modernization, improving transparency, and expediting returns of unclaimed property, what we're going to get is an improved, continuing improvement, and impressive Pennsylvania Treasury under Treasurer Garrity's leadership. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, last comment, while you have the accomplishments, they're the 73 initiatives mentioned, we track them in Treasury. So we track them over the next 4 years to make sure that they are implemented, accomplished in a timely manner, relatively efficiently. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, thank you very much. The last couple of weeks, the policy committee's been looking at how to make government work better, whether it's through benefit integrity or whether it's through permitting and regulations, all that sorts of things. So I think it's really exciting to see that making government work better is not actually a pipe dream. It is something that actually can be accomplished, and it's really encouraging to see it in action. Before we move to questions, I want to recognize that we have been joined by several members, Representative Fink from York County, Representative Kale from Beaver and Washington counties, Representative Ledbetter from Columbia County, and Representative Barton from Berks and Schuylkill County. I don't think think I missed anyone. We're going to right to questions, and as I said, guys, we only have about 25 minutes left, so we're going to try to keep our questions to the point. I'm going to start off with Appropriations Chairman Struzzi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. What a breath of fresh air you are. I truly appreciate your efforts, your efforts to improve the Treasury. I wish that we could emulate that in some other state agencies, because I think we could save millions, if not billions of dollars. So we appreciate your efforts. As you know, and as we all know, the governor has proposed a $51.5 billion budget, proposing to drain our surplus and tap into the rainy day fund. You mentioned that could have serious impacts on our credit rating. From a Treasury standpoint, do you know what that equates to, what that could equate to if this were to occur on our credit rating, and what that could mean as far as financial impacts to the Commonwealth?
Sure. So we looked at this, and basically, if you have a 20-year bond, so for every $1 billion, is it billion or million?
$1 billion.
$800,000 it would cost. So every billion, $800,000. So it's significant.
Yes.
Right.
It really is.
So the credit rating is reduced by one rating from AAO2 to AA3, a reduction on a 20-year bond.
$800,000.
$800,000 would be costly if you do it the opposite way. And so therefore that becomes very important.
So not only does that have a significant impact on our financial stability if we have zero funds in surplus and zero funds in rainy day fund, it could actually cause the Commonwealth to lose money.
Well, exactly. And we should never be using our rainy day fund to fund ongoing operations of the Commonwealth. The rainy day fund, the purpose of it is so that you can, during economic downturn, that you don't have to increase taxes or cut important services that Pennsylvanians rely on. So we should never, ever use our rainy day fund to fund a budget. It's just crazy.
Well, thank you for that. And just one more quick comment. As we talk about regulatory reform, what that looks like, we're looking for specifics, things that we can actually impact here, even in this budget cycle. So as you interact with other agencies, if you see things that from a regulatory standpoint could be streamlined, changed, please reach out and let us know. We would really appreciate that information. And again, I appreciate the work that you have done over the past few years, and I think you're truly making a difference for this Commonwealth. So thank you. And I apologize, but I do have to run.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Representative Kozak.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, Treasurer. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. I really appreciate the updates. Thank you for the efficiency measures you've put in, the fiscal management you've done. You talked about the investment strategies and how we've been saving money and increasing in areas at times where we feel like we're just constantly losing money. So it's really important to me and to the people in my district that you guys are managing the money the way that you are. It's a breath of fresh air. And thank you for the innovation with AI as well. It's great to see that you guys are leading the country in that. So Chairman Struzzi mentioned the rainy day fund, and that's something I'm thinking about as well, the practical implications of that. So we talked about bonds and we talked about credit ratings, but what about just for regular Pennsylvanians? What does it mean if we end up with a budget that the governor is requesting, and we go down this road of structural deficit and losing more and more money and not having really the funds to pay off? What does that mean for practical implications for regular everyday Pennsylvanians?
Well, the bottom line is in several years, taxes would have to increase. I mean, because we can't sustain it. I mean, every single year that I've been treasurer, we have spent more than we brought in. Now, people didn't really pay attention to it because it was masked by the influx of federal money that we got as a result of COVID. But now it's real, and we shouldn't wait for 2 years to address it. We should address it now. So Pennsylvanians expect government to not spend more than what they bring in, just like you can't do with your household. So the state should be responsible, just like we expect our Pennsylvania families to be responsible.
Thank you.
Well said. Representative Watro.
Mr. Chairman, once again, thank you for having such a great policy hearing today. I appreciate you. Treasurer, thank you for your service to state. Thank you for your service to country as a combat veteran. You're a true public servant. We are lucky to have you leading the way. I believe accountability starts from the top down, and with your experience, throughout your life. I believe you believe the same thing. But the question I have is, what more can the state of Pennsylvania do to combat waste, fraud, and abuse?
That is a great question. Thank you. And thank you for your service as well. So I think you can always do more to improve efficiency. You know, I come from the private sector, and so every year we would look to see where can we be more efficient, where can we reduce inefficiencies, and so I think that we should be doing the same thing, because you can always find a place where you can make improvements, renegotiate a contract. But there are a few things, so ensuring that all agencies adhere to and they're connected with the federal do not pay system. And I know that he left, but I know Clint Outlet has legislation to accomplish this, so that would be fantastic. Enhancing a review of agency contracts to prevent overpayment for services. I know that Representative Grove, he has long championed that issue. Reforming and monitoring the P card, that would reduce waste. Decreasing lengthy delays in inheritance tax returns, and I know Representative Kuzma is looking at remedying that. Pass legislation that will provide for more oversight into excessive regulations and ensure that state programs are operating correctly and in a timely manner. And I know that Dallas Kephart has taken the reins on this, no pun intended, right, because it's called rain. And then speaking of regulations, I mean, RGGI should be eliminated yesterday. And we need to create an independent energy office to review regs that impact our energy portfolio. I know that he just left, but Representative Struzzi, he is the prime author of legislation to approve that. Now, timely distribution of tax refunds to avoid unnecessary interest payments, so that's Department of Revenue. So regarding that last point, interest on income taxes increased in 2024 to $42.5 million from $18.7 million in 2023. So think about it. Not only do we give people their money back late, and then we have to pay interest, and that's taxpayer money. Now, I am all for attracting sporting events to Pennsylvania. Okay, I'm all for it. But, you know, talk about the U.S. Open, Oakmont, that was selected in 2016. So, you know, and way after the fact, after it was already selected, we had a $2.2 million contract with the U.S. Open. And part of that was hospitality, I think $265,000. So why do we need a hospitality suite? Because I stopped at it. I was at a different one with my old private sector friends, and DCED was 2 doors down. So I walked in to see who was in there. It's a bunch of lobbyists. So I just think as a practical matter, that's probably unnecessary. $250,000 for NASCAR. So the Pocono 400 is always going to be in Pennsylvania because that is a very unique racetrack. I usually go to the Pocono 400 every single year. So why do we need a hospitality suite? We probably don't. So these events were happening regardless. And again, I'm all for, you know, I think there's probably different sporting events that we can attract to our great Commonwealth. But these two examples, you know, and we've already selected Oakmont in the future, right? So, and then a couple other things. So just speaking about efficiency, I think we should expand Money Match program. So right now, the threshold is $500 max. We are the lowest. I mean, I appreciate that we got it enacted, the legislation, but most states are $2,500, $5,000, $10,000. And so, you know, I think we should do everything that we can do to give people back their money, because it doesn't belong to the state, it belongs to the hardworking Pennsylvanians that earned it. And then we could also, you know, keeping on the theme of unclaimed property, we could return more directly to living heirs by doubling the threshold to $20,000. So that would avoid lengthy and costly legal paperwork, and a lot of people can't afford it. So I know Representative Cerisi from across the aisle, he loves unclaimed property, and he's looking into that. So those are just a few things.
Treasurer, thank you very much. I appreciate you leading the way.
Representative Schlegel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Madam Secretary, welcome. Always appreciate the time that you afford us here along with House members. And I particularly appreciate your commitment to educating Pennsylvanians relative to the operations of the Department of the Treasury, as well as very specific programs. And I would like you, if you would please, to talk a little bit about the Money Match Initiative and how that helps our constituents.
Sure. So for the first time ever, we are proactively returning unclaimed property to people. They have to be single owners, and it has to be $500 or less, but the first time ever. Because, you know, although we've been breaking records, this last year we set a new record of $272 million. 1 out of 10 Pennsylvanians has unclaimed property. We have $5 billion. And so I know sometimes legislators worry about we're going to give away too much. You don't have to worry. We're always going to get more in than we give back. And so what that does is that helps families who might be struggling, you know, to put groceries on the table or pay their rent or their mortgage or fill up their car with gas. You know, a few $100s can help families that are struggling. And so last week, just about 40,000 checks were sent out, totaling $9.2 million. And so we're going to do this every quarter. My goal is to get up to 40 million, but when you think about we're giving back 272 million, 40 million isn't a whole lot. So if we increase that threshold, that would help. But Money Match is fantastic. It was passed unanimously. Imagine, you know, eliminating red tape from government. It's fantastic. So thanks for all of you for your support on that.
Thank you very much.
Representative Ledbetter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Armstrong, Treasurer Garrity, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Always insightful to hear from the Treasury Department and the amazing work that you guys are doing. Director Armstrong, I think you mentioned in your presentation, and you certainly substantiated, Treasurer Garrity, the prudent person standard that the department uses. It's funny how the common sense of our homes should also be the same common sense that we exercise here in the Capitol and across the Commonwealth. One thing, Treasurer Garrity, that you mentioned, and I'll get to my question here in a moment, is this idea that there are public dollars and private dollars. And you so accurately stated that that's not correct. There are just dollars. And we want to make sure that those dollars are converted into working dollars for the hardworking people of Pennsylvania. So with that in mind, Treasurer Garrity, when we look at other states like New Hampshire, Arizona, and Texas, Chairman Struzzi mentioned the Rainy Day Fund and the innovative efforts that you are making within the department. How important is it to be open to innovative investment strategies to offset inflation and these radical tax and spend policies of not only Governor Shapiro, but the Democrats as a whole?
So yeah, we're always looking at ways where we can increase our interest and look at different innovative strategies. But with investments, you got to be a little bit careful because since we make every payment in the Commonwealth, which is just about 19 million payments a year, fun fact, 3 payments a second. We have to make sure that first we have to protect the fund, we have to make sure that we have liquidity, and then earn a reasonable risk-adjusted rate of return. So are you going to the crypto world? Is that?
Certainly open to any innovation that you and your team seem to deem worthy.
Yeah, so we've looked at that, and if we were to invest in crypto, it would be with an ETF. And I think that's been suggested by Satoshi as well. So we're kind of looking forward to see President Trump will get his report in July, and we're thinking that that might lay out, you know, some guardrails and some regulatory framework, and hopefully that would translate to the state. Also in crypto, you know, we're looking at accepting payments in crypto. So, but it would be using a third party. So people would think, oh, that's great. Because I think people should be able to make their payments however they want to make them. But the third party would convert it to dollars within a matter of seconds, and so we would be getting dollars. So, but it would still provide more flexibility. And the other thing is we're looking at our unclaimed property, okay? Because we have 2 ongoing cryptocurrency exchange audits with BUP, and they're potentially worth as much as $20 to $25 million. And so, you know, we talked about this. So right now, we would need legislation if we wanted to convert digital currency, right? So right now, we would have to convert it to dollars and take it. But if we wanted to do something different with it, we would need some legislation. So we're looking at all three buckets.
Treasurer Garrity, thank you so much for your leadership as an advocate for Bitcoin and someone who looks forward to collaborating with you and your team. Again, this is the innovation that's important for the Commonwealth. And again, your leadership is a testament to your commitment to all of us here in Pennsylvania. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Representative Kale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Treasurer, for being here today. I want to start by saying thank you with what's happening going on around the world right now. I just want to remind everybody and make sure that we say again and have an opportunity to say on the record, thank you for not buckling to pressure with investments in our ally Israel about 1.5 years ago. It just reminded me of how you stood strong. Now we're hopefully drawing near to an end of a conflict here. It means a lot to us as representatives to see that because in a lot of different places we see people buckling for no reason at all. And I know you maintained your fiduciary duty and it was a sound investment on top of it, but there was a lot of pressure at the time and you stood strong, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. You know, my district's in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania on the border of Ohio and West Virginia. And there are a lot of natural gas assets in my district. There's a lot of natural gas assets across the entire Commonwealth. A lot of people within the Commonwealth are employed within the natural gas industry. And we talk about failing budgets and revenue shortages. If you could just speak a little bit to how important our natural gas industry is to our Commonwealth as it relates to revenue coming in, and whether there's any indication that we could even see more benefit from the industry if we did the right thing as policymakers.
Sure. Before I take that question, I will mention, I don't know if you saw, but we invested another $25 million in Israel bonds.
Yeah.
And the rates are almost a full basis point, a full percentage. So like they're like 5.06 versus treasuries. So
yeah, and I don't know if everyone recalls, but when you initially made a comment after October 7th about investing in the nation, in bonds coming from Israel, there were protesters outside your office, and you just let them have it and kept moving forward, and I appreciate your willingness to stand strong.
Nope. We'll always stand with Israel. They're our greatest ally in the Middle East, so it's great to support your ally, and it's a great investment for Pennsylvanians, so it's a true win-win. So yes, liquid gold. I'm a lifelong resident of Bradford County, as you all know, and so that county has the 4th most natural gas wells in the state, and my neighbor, Susquehanna County, has the most. So I see firsthand the great benefits of Marcellus Shale. I mean, it has really been a game changer. So Pennsylvania is the 2nd largest natural gas producer in the United States, but we could do so much more. So we sit at 18% of the total United States natural gas production. So we have over 11,900 wells that are producing. So it has created tens of thousands of jobs across the Commonwealth. That's both direct and indirect, and it's directly boosted the local economy of 36 counties that have the producing wells. So Homer City Power Plant Project, that's the largest gas-fired power plant in the United States. It's expected to create about 900 jobs. So natural gas, of course, is a core sector of our economy. It produces cash for pockets of both hardworking Pennsylvanians and the state. It also has a big impact on other industries. So there's $208 billion of the chemical industry investment that's tied to the shale gas. I don't know if you're aware of that. That's a huge number. And so another example is where I came from in the private sector, Global Tungsten and Powders. We supplied tungsten for fixed cutter bits used for drilling and for shape charge liners used for fracking. And so that was a huge part of our business. So also, of course, the state collects fees, impact fees, and they go to state and local governments, and that's fantastic. In fact, we just celebrated Tom Corbett, I think a month or so ago, for this initiative. But that supports infrastructure, emergency services, and environmental programs. So in 2023, impact fees generated over $250 million for Pennsylvania communities, so it's fantastic. And it also helps with reduction in carbon emissions. So since 2019, there has been a 9% reduction in emissions, according to the IFO. And you know what? That's equivalent to removing 12.5 million cars from the road. So it's huge. 9% is a big number. Now, most of you are familiar with, I do the Made in PA Mondays. And everywhere I go, there's a consistent theme. Manufacturers say they need affordable and reliable electricity to remain competitive. And we all know that that's going to be an issue because electricity demands are soaring. It's because of AI. You know, we're not going to be able to handle that, the grid. And not to mention our 88 data centers, right? Which could be a lot more because Ohio has, I think, 192. So federal and state regulations, tax implications, bureaucratic delays, they have made it difficult to establish new power generation facilities. So let alone replace capacity that we've lost from closed plants. Think about it, Pennsylvania is the 12th most regulated state in the country. We have over 166,000 restrictions in place. So it would be great if we could reduce those bureaucratic barriers so that we could let our energy production flourish. So you can look no further than the DEP, which I call the DEP Don't Expect a Permit. Wouldn't it be great if we could transform that to Do Expect a Permit, right? So due to permitting delays, we've lost out on business, and I'll just give you two very quick examples. So we lost a key economic driver, Fairlife, to New York. Imagine that, losing to New York. And we experienced the cancellation of a new state-of-the-art gas plant in Clinton County. So that's just crazy. So I think it speaks for itself. So I think that we should adopt a policy requiring legislative approval for any regulation with significant economic impact, such as those costing over $1 million. So this approach has been used by other states. Kansas has that, North Carolina has that, and it can help reduce red tape, increase accountability, and prevent unnecessary bureaucratic burdens on the energy sector. You know, energy security is national security. Pennsylvania has it right under our feet. We should unleash it. And guess what? That would take care of the structural deficit that we have in place, and it would give us a little bit of breathing room financially that we really desperately need.
Thank you for your attention to this matter, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Last question, Representative Banting, you got the floor.
Okay, I'll make it short. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Treasurer Garrity and your office for being here. Up home, I have 3 offices, and one of my girls has worked for years for another representative, and since you took the seat, she's been excited about the giving back to the people their money, finding the unclaimed property. So she's taken the task to just call people when she's slow in her office, and she wants to work for you if she doesn't work for me. Let's put it that way. So before I had this job, I had no idea about your office or what you did. I know a lot more about it now, and I think that you're getting out there. How will you reach out to the people, let them know, in the rural areas, what you're about and what you do?
Yeah, so we've increased our rural outreach. So when I started at Treasury, all the rural outreach was basically done from Harrisburg area. And so we put people in all 4 corners and in Central so that people that live in their communities go out to their communities. You can't send somebody from Harrisburg to like Bradford County. It's just not going to work. And so we just also hired a bilingual person to reach our growing Hispanic and Latino communities as well. And so that is going to be huge. So just last year we did 1,000 events. 840 were in person, and I think there were over 112 legislative events. And so we're getting out there, and I think that's why, that helps break those unclaimed property records. that helps, our PA Able, our assets have more than tripled over the last 3 years, and our accounts have more than doubled. So I think this outreach is definitely helping 48 out of 67 of our counties are rural, and they think they get left behind from government, and a lot of times they do. So I represent rural Pennsylvania, and so I make it a personal mission to make sure that they're not left behind and that they know about the programs that we have to offer and how we can help.
Can't tell you the number of people that have called my office and they said, I had no idea I had $400 or $500 in here. So it's a big deal. Thank you for what you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Representative Banta. I have to echo Representative Banta's sentiments. We had a constituent reach out and said, is this real? Because they think how bizarre is it the government is giving you back money, right, instead of just taking more. So excellent work on returning the unclaimed property. I want to thank you very much, Treasurer Garrity, for being here, Director Armstrong, all the members who were able to join us. I think this hearing made something very clear, that government efficiency isn't just a fiscal principle, it is a public responsibility. The excellent work you have done in streamlining processes, cutting red tape, eliminating redundancy shows that good government is not an impossible thing. We can do it, and it has been done the right way. So I want to thank you for leading by example, because the Pennsylvania taxpayers, frankly, they deserve a government that works for them. They deserve a government that works as hard as they do, that is as wise with its resources as they are with theirs, and you really have set the gold standard for that. So any closing remarks? I can turn it over to you.
Sure. So it's truly an honor to serve. It really is. And every day that I get to wake up and work for hardworking Pennsylvanians, I consider a blessing. And so, we're going to keep at it, and we're going to keep finding ways to make our programs more efficient and, better serve Pennsylvanians.
Thank you, Treasurer Garrity. Thank you, members. This hearing is adjourned.
Thanks for having me.